After living abroad for the last 8 years, these last 3 years in the UK, and traveling to over 50 countries, my life looks completely different now. I've moved back to the US, I'm living in Texas, and I just became a mom. So if you've subscribed for travel content, this is what you can expect now. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, hi, I'm Brittany from She Run the World. This video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually post because today is more of a life update and a channel update. I really just want to sit down and just talk to you. I want to share where I'm at and what's changed in my life and what you can expect from this channel going forward, because honestly, my life looks completely different now than it did even a year ago, or of course years ago when I started this channel. If you've been following me for a while, then you know that this channel started off as a travel channel. I've been traveling since 2016. I visited over 50 countries and I've lived and worked full-time in 5 of those. Without going too crazy into detail about my travel past, I studied abroad in Barcelona in 2016, which just instantly gave me the travel bug that I just couldn't shake. So it made me get an English teaching job in Chongqing, China in 2018. And that's kind of honestly where everything took off for me travel-wise. I lived there for a year. Then after my year contract, I backpacked all around Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand for about 6 months. Then I moved to Prague to teach English, and then I moved to Vietnam to teach English, and then I moved to Austin for 6 months after that because we thought we were ready to come back to the States, settle down, and we kind of realized really quickly that we still had the travel itch, and we were in fact not quite ready to settle down. So we left Austin, we went and backpacked South America for 6 months, and then we have been living and working in London for the last 3 years. So it's safe to say that travel has been such a huge part of my identity for so long. It has shaped who I am, it's pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and it really has given me a completely different perspective on life. Like I mentioned before, most recently I was living in the UK, specifically London, for the past 3 years, and that chapter of my life was honestly so special. It was one of those experiences that I'll always look back on and feel so grateful for. I built a life there. I had my daughter there. I had my routines, my favorite coffee shops, my grocery stores, my little day-to-day habits that made it feel so much like home. And I think when you live abroad for that long, it stops feeling like this temporary adventure and it really does just start feeling like real life. And throughout all of that, this channel became a place where I just shared everything. I was learning along the way. I made videos about travel tips, itineraries, budgeting, budget travel, backpacking, cost of living, and what it actually is like to move abroad and build a life somewhere new as an expat. And I loved creating that content. I loved helping people plan their travels, feel more confident about moving abroad, or even just experiencing different places through my videos. But over time, my life started to shift, and I think that's something that just happens naturally. It can feel a little bit strange when your identity has been tied to something for so long, because now I'm in a completely different season of life. Like I mentioned, I've moved back to the States. I'm living in Texas. I'm now a mom, and I feel like that one sentence alone kind of explains this channel evolving, because while I still love travel and I always will, my day-to-day life looks completely different now. My priorities have shifted, my routines look nothing like they used to, and even the way I think about travel and like adventure has completely changed. Leaving the UK was not an easy decision at all. I think from the outside it can look like, oh, you just moved back home, but it was so much more emotional than that for me. I had built a life there that I truly loved. I had a sense of independence, a rhythm, and a version of myself that felt very confident and established, but at the same time, I knew deep down that I wanted to be closer to family, especially going into the next phase of life. And once becoming a mom entered the picture, that really made things clear for me. I wanted support, I wanted to be near loved ones, I wanted to build this next chapter in a place that felt grounded. So we made the decision to move back to the US, specifically to Texas, which has been such a huge adjustment in itself. And I feel like this is something that people don't talk about enough. Moving back to your home country after living abroad can feel just as hard, if not harder, than moving away in the first place, because there's this expectation that everything will just feel familiar and easy again. But in reality, you've changed. Like, your perspective has changed, your habits have changed, and suddenly things that used to feel normal feel different. I catch myself noticing the smallest things, how different homes are here, how daily routines feel, even just the way that people communicate. And it's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. And that adjustment has been something I'm still navigating. So that's a huge part of what I want to start sharing more on this channel. Things like reverse culture shock, UK versus US differences, and just honest reflections on what it's actually like to move back after building a life somewhere else. But the biggest change in my life by far, like I said, has been becoming a mom. And I'll be completely honest, I am figuring it out as I go. I don't have everything perfectly planned. I don't have all the answers, and I'm learning something new every single day. She definitely keeps me on my toes, and that's exactly the kind of content that I want to create in this next chapter too. Not the perfectly curated version of motherhood where everything looks effortless, but the real version, the version where you're trying things, you're learning what works, realizing what doesn't, and just doing your best every single day, because that's where I'm at right now. So on this channel, you're gonna start seeing more of that, more real life mom content, things like daily routines, products that I'm using and loving, things that didn't work for me, and just the honest reality of what this phase of life looks like. I'll also still be sharing travel with a baby, because even though my life has changed, travel is still something that's really important to me. It just looks a little bit different now. I'm not just dropping on a backpack and just taking off for 6 months. It requires more planning, more flexibility, and honestly a lot more patience, but I want to show that it is still possible. And I think that there's something really valuable in showing what travel looks like in different seasons of life, not just the carefree backpacker version, but the real version that adapts as your life changes. You'll also see more about what life is like in Texas, what it's like living here, places to go, things to do, and just the everyday lifestyle, because moving here has been such a big part of this transition. And I know a lot of you are either curious about Texas or going through similar moves yourselves. And I think the biggest thing I want to say is that this channel isn't losing its identity. It's just kind of growing with me. At the core of everything I've always shared, it's always been about experiences, learning, and building a life that feels aligned with what I want. And right now, that looks like motherhood, home life, and redefining what adventure means. And honestly, I think this version of life is just as meaningful, if not more, than just constant travel. It's just different. It's quieter in some ways, but also deeper. And I know that not everyone who originally subscribed for travel specific content is going to be interested in this shift, and that's completely okay. I never want anyone to feel like they have to stay if the content no longer resonates with them. But if you are someone who is navigating a new phase of life, becoming a parent, moving countries, adjusting to a new environment, or just trying to figure out things as you go, I really do think that you'll connect with what this channel is becoming, because I want this space to feel real and honest. I'm not here to make everything look perfect. I'm not here to pretend I have everything figured out. I want to share what's actually working, what's not working, what I'm learning, and how things evolve over time, because I think that's what people actually connect with and what's actually helpful. So if you've been here for a while, thank you so much for sticking with me through all of these different chapters of my life. It really means more to me than you probably realize. And if you're new here, this is honestly the perfect time to join, because you're getting to see the next phase from the very beginning. I'm really excited for what's ahead, and I feel like this is the most aligned I've felt with my content in a long time, because it just really reflects my real life right now, not what I used to be doing before I was a mom. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe, follow along, and just be a part of this journey with me.